I did administrative. I started early.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now. I don't know how well I can be heard right now, but I don't have much to say. I just wanted to remind everybody that this is Synerque, which is part of Drake Intelligence Group. And I wanted to remind everybody too that I'm available limitedly for a 1-hour free seminar. It's kind of a general overview. And then I'm also available to do custom crafted workshops based on an industry need. The 1-hour one is free. The other one's a fee, depending on what your needs are. But you can just get in touch with me and let me know. Real quick, our speaker this month is Abeyta. She's the founder, creator, mastermind, everything, and chief bottle washer of AppCityLife, and particularly here for AppCityLife. So she's been doing a lot of things with the iPhone as far as apps and mobile advertising. And so since my voice broke, I thought much longer to go ahead and turn this over to Lisa.
Thanks for coming out and blowing your way over here. I wasn't even sure whether I was going to make it out of the driveway there for a little bit. So thanks for coming out. I know it's a weeknight. I definitely am not probably the most knowledgeable expert on mobile marketing in Albuquerque. I'm probably not the most knowledgeable expert in the iPhone world in Albuquerque. But I am doing it. This is my entire career. This is my business. And so I'm sharing with you guys what I've learned to get started and what I have found to be true about the whole industry. You'll have to be really quiet because I didn't bring a speaker, but I want you guys to listen to this next little clip. And I don't think I have to introduce who it is. I think you'll know. Let's see if I can make a joke here.
A lot of people are forecasting that there'll be software stores just like their record stores today, and that there'll be thousands and thousands of those. And I think I'd have to agree with that.
Imagine that. That was 1977. And here was a very young Bill Gates talking about this absolutely bizarre idea that we would have stores that would have nothing in it except for software, and thinking that was really possible, and other people thinking that this was groundbreaking news. And 77 to now, and you think about it, we are walking around with our world in our pocket. 50% of the sales in the mobile industry are smartphones. And that's for every phone that gets retired. Almost all of the new ones that people buy are smarter than the last one that they bought. The other really interesting thing to understand is that if you had to ask yourself, or answer the question if one of you want to, do you think there's more TVs or cell phones in the world? Cell phones. There are 2 cell phones for every TV that there is in the world. And so when you ask yourself where you're getting your message across, you have to ask yourself, which is there more of, and which are people using more? What I'd like to talk about, and we'll see what we can read on this and what we can't, we're going to cover the different types of mobile advertising that there are, the different kinds of platforms that there are that you can get out on mobile advertising. I'm going to briefly talk about some of the projections for that entire industry. I'll also cover briefly the type of costs that are involved in getting into mobile advertising. We're also going to talk about the differences between Quattro and AdMob. Quattro was purchased by Apple, and that's where the iAd is coming out from. AdMob was purchased by Google, and that's where that entire industry of the pop-up ads have come from that are on your mobile phone. And we will talk about some differences between the iPhone and the iPad and what they're doing with apps. So let's talk about how mobile advertising differs from other methods. Print. From the first time there was print, there was some guy who figured out, I don't want to have to pay to get this out there, how can I not pay for it? And he figured out that if he let somebody else put their message in there, they were willing to pay for that. And so print has long been supported by the advertising model. And while subscriptions pay for a very small amount of print media, the true industry is paid for by advertising. Once print was already moving and we had television, then of course you end up with your ads on television. The thing about an ad on television is that you have that person's attention, you know what demographic you're in, you can do all of that kind of research, there's wonderful research on it. But as long as nobody's taking a bathroom break, you catch them during that show. The internet. 10 years ago, there really was no advertising on the internet. Now, you can put as much advertising on your website as you want to. However, You can end up with one that looks like that. I really do not recommend it. And then this was presented at a ad-fed luncheon that I was at by one of the partners of as far as the advertising. And he told the story behind this, and so I'm going to share it with you guys. This was from the dot-com bust. This is in New York City. And CareerBuilder.com decided that the best place to advertise was on top of metro buses driving through downtown New York City, looking with all those high-rises with these guys getting laid off, losing their companies, and this was the first real mobile advertising. And in fact, if you do a Google search of mobile advertising, you're going to find more about buses than you are about smartphones. And now we have the new mobile advertising. Most of it is in the form of pop-up ads or banner ads. Most of those are coming through AdMob from Google. And they're getting disseminated out into iPhone apps that way. Okay, let's talk about the different types of mobile ads that there are. There's the SMS, MMS, text messaging. If any of you have signed up from 770 KOB to find out what's happening with the traffic, what's happening with the weather, the bottom of all those have a little tiny piece of language that tells you who paid for that text message. There's also apps that are in games, in applications. Google ads, those are huge. There's promos, there's ads even in maps. Bluecasting, it's not very popular here, but in India, they actually grab onto your Bluetooth as you're walking by. They have little kiosks, and your Bluetooth will start talking to you as you're walking along, and they will start advertising through your Bluetooth. Yes, isn't it great? So people are really reaching the limits of trying to figure out how they can get out into your world through a mobile phone. Let's talk about some different platforms. There's really 3 basic smartphone platforms. The first is the BlackBerry Palm. There's also the Android and there's the iPhone. The BlackBerry Palm, those two were really the first industry changers. They were for people who wanted to be able to manage their business away from the office. They wanted to be able to get email. They wanted to be able to look at documents. And so that was really the first time you were able to carry that kind of content in your phone. Android, of course, is across several platforms, and the iPhone is exclusive to Apple. Let's talk about ad projections. 40%, we already talked about this, roughly half of all new smartphone or sales in the mobile industry are smartphones. The Kelsey Group has also provided some information. Back in 2008, this was a little tiny industry. There was only about 160 million in revenue with mobile advertising. In a very short time, in only 3 years, they're expecting that to expand to 3.1 billion. And every time I look at these numbers, they're growing. Every time people do new revenue projections, they're growing. They're even higher than that.